themselves in it all. So let's talk about it. We'll be right back. Peace.
When I am asked to speak, I embrace the calling. It is my responsibility to make sure to leave everyone inspired to elevate in all aspects of life. In the 26 states and 10 countries, it has been my energy that is infectious and magical. The impact elevates everyone to new heights. It's time to conquer our challenges. Relationships across the board, communication gaps, fear of the unknown, limited beliefs, and all that holds us hostage in life. The path to power is peace, and peace is the power to live by. The unique perspective that I bring to the table inspires all, professionals, executives, students, coaches, and athletes to reach their highest potential. That is why I, Sid McNary, am known as the secret weapon. Whether it is tackling mental health issues, success in business, or winning at life, every moment counts. Get ready to receive the tools to win. It's time to win at everything. Let's connect today. Peace.
All right, we're in it and we're ready to go. So I'm gonna get everybody up and we're gonna do this kind of in a popcorn, pop up, fast, fire. So it's, like I feel like we think it becomes thought, but if we just fire it and we just go with it and as quick as we can get our points across, I think it'll be a lot more fun and lively. So welcome, Dr. Vibe, Chris, and Tony. It's great to be here with you all. I love that. One, I met all of you on Clubhouse, right? So we were all in a talk app, but now we can actually see each other and still continue these conversations and grow. And we're talking once again. Sebastian may jump in here in a little bit, but we're going back into this whole space of cheaters. And it's crazy to me that every time I create any topic or write something in my book, it comes in my life. And so I'm dealing with two women that are, well, one has been cheated on and she's had some domestic violence, that kind of thing. Well, actually, both of them have had that. They've both been cheated on. They've both had domestic violence. And 9 times out of 10, no one actually wants to look at they are the reason the cheating is happening in the first place. I'm going to kick it off with that. That's what I got.
Well, I'll say this, and just because we continue, first of all, thanks for having me on here again, Dr. Vibe. Good to see you. Chris, always good to see you, brother. And, of course, Sid. I'll start off by saying that regardless of the cheat, it's never just one-sided. There's a reason. There's something that happened that was a catalyst for that. Whether it was, and we were talking about this offline. That's when Dr. Vibe was like, "Yo, we got to go live because we're already dropping these gems and having these conversations." And what I had said in the back channel is, there's people that have been married 3, 4, 5 times, and question is why? Well, I don't know. Is life, God life just that mean that you keep getting bad luck with these people? Or could it maybe be that you're the common denominator? Maybe you're the problem, right? And if nothing else, at the very least, you're the one that made the decision to get into the relationship with all 5 of those people. So either way, you've got to accept radical responsibility for your role in whatever that may be, even if it's just having made the decision and maybe not having been the catalyst for the cheat or whatever it is. And then, of course, I've got to say that there's 2 different types of cheating. There's the emotional cheat and the physical cheat. And one or the other will be more impactful to the opposite sex. For men, maybe the physical cheat is more of a hurts more. For women, maybe it's more of the emotional cheat, or vice versa, because we're all a little bit different. But the reality of it is we all have to do a little introspection. And I said this last week, and I'm sure it was a little controversial then. It'll probably be a little controversial now. But it doesn't matter in a relationship when one of the people in the relationship withholds intimacy. And intimacy, of course, isn't just sex. But when they withhold intimacy, that gentle touch, that gentle word, that kindness, that softness, and yes, the sexual intimacy and that connection, when you withhold that, you're going to starve out whoever that person is. And ultimately, it's like you're holding the key to the pantry that's chock full of goodies, but the other person doesn't have access to. and then you get pissed off because they went out and got a greasy burger or a dirty water dog somewhere on the street. Not saying it's right. However, there's always two sides to every story. So I'll kind of open with that.
Wow. There's so much there. One thing I will say, it's a pleasure to be with all you gentlemen. It's a pleasure and honor. I heard something the other day, you were talking about intimacy, Tony, and this person said that men do sex first, then intimacy. Women do intimacy first, then sex.
Yeah.
And that made me think and go, okay, all right. So that was one of the things I picked up with. I think also we have to make a reality that infidelity is common. And like a lot of research says, like a third of men and a quarter of women have been cheated on at some point. So this is not a fringe issue. This is a somewhat common issue. So like when I'm thinking and talking about this, it's not just messy business, but it's like a car crash. And like you said, Tony, emotionally and physically, it's a car crash.
It is. And, and it's great that you said that because it's different for different people. And oftentimes it happens over time. And the interesting thing of what you said is, we're all living in the United States, right?
Well, I'm in Canada.
We are so you're okay. Well, almost.
Well, your president thinks that this is the United States, but that's another conversation. Okay,
you're almost there. You're almost there. You're almost the 51st state.
All right, here we go.
But anyway, the reality of it is, we and I'd say Canada probably fits. This glove probably fits the Canadians as well. Is we're the divorce capital of the world, right? We're the infidelity capital of the world, practically. Obviously, there's certain outcroppings and whatever, but we also live in a very disposable society.
Yes.
Right? Where instead of fighting for what you want, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine just less than an hour ago that we live in a disposable society. I said, so if you really love this person, forget the noise, forget what everybody else is saying. You go fight for what you want, right? You've got to go after what you want, because if you don't, it's already gone. So if you're going to listen to, well, you don't want to like be that, open up that much, because you're going to, well, sometimes you've got, the only way to really truly love is to open up your heart and be willing to have it freaking smashed. And then, and only then, will you ever really feel that true love, aside from, other parts of that conversation, which I'm not going to dominate right now, but I'm sure it'll come out in the conversation. But yeah, that's good observation.
Chris, what you got, man?
I'm listening. I think you guys had this conversation before. Cheating is an interesting topic, because there's so many opportunities for us to make generalizations and assumptions about what's going on and what this group of people does and doesn't. I think it's also important. Most of my clients are women, have been women. Most of my friends have been women in my life. I was raised by a single mom who was raped, who was in abusive relationships, who was cheated on. And I got to see a lot of that female aspect. And with those friends in that, I have found that it's pretty surprising how many of them, like Tony, you were saying, there was intimacy and then sex. I'm surprised at how many women nowadays are more fueled by sex and more fueled by the ego, testosterone domination within their body than ever before. So I'm seeing women cheating. I'm seeing women like having had enough. So I think the conversation needs to go back to that acceptance of responsibility, right? You see things, you see the signs. Every time somebody comes back to me and says, oh my God, I'm like, did you see the signs? Yep. How many signs were there? There was 12. Okay. Why was it that you ignored them? And what we often find is, well, I thought if I stayed with them, I thought if I showed them this, then they would change. And I think the conversation also has to be like, when you get into a relationship, you have to see the writing on the wall for what it might be and have those conversations. And especially like you were saying before about withholding, that's a conversation about, hey, do we need a third party person to come into our life and go to marriage counseling and have these conversations with somebody who's a third party person who has no vested interest in our relationship, for us to both seek better to understand one another and then take the appropriate actions. Because I myself have been through marriage counseling with my current wife. We've now been married for 19 years, been together for 24. 3 different times. And people say, oh my God, your marriage is in that much trouble. I'm like, no, it wasn't in trouble. We cared enough to be able to go talk to somebody about feelings that we were having and potential urges that we were having, and maybe some of that withholding that was happening. And we were able to get some answers outside of ourselves and apply some of those things and really strengthen our relationship. And I encourage people who are listening to go do that, because so oftentimes people sit in that quiet desperation, hoping, wishing, and praying that something changes, and then something bad happens, and they go, well, I guess I saw it coming. And so that's the ownership that they have to take. But then they go back to repeat those patterns. So again, coming back to how we started it, you got to accept responsibility from what's within inside.
You know, if I could just jump in on that for a second and just say that oftentimes, you know, there's something called the scotoma, that you're choosing not to see it. And then when it's finally visible, that's when you can go back and count the 12 different instances, because you probably only noticed, I mean, you saw all of them, but emotionally you only saw 2 or 3 of them, because you were unwilling to see what's right in front of you. That's why they say hindsight is 20/20, because looking back, you can see where all the pitfalls were, where all the mistakes were, where all the things that you should have caught were, but you didn't, because your love was blind. I learned this, you know, we've all heard these terms over the course of our lives, and, you know, love is blind. I understood what that meant, but I never really did until I had to face it. And I realized it was a business separation, but I've been friends with this person for, you know, my whole life. So I just didn't see it coming. I should have. Other people were seeing it, but because of the love that I had for them, and because sometimes you don't have it in your heart to do that to someone else, because of that, you can't see it being done to you, because you love them. You'd never do that to them. You believe they love you, so they would never do that to you. So when they did it, you don't even no, you didn't even see it. It's a scotoma. It's right in front of you, but you didn't see it, right? Mm-hmm. And it does go back to, and I'll just open up this loop, and it goes back to what you were talking about, where women are taking this posture of this masculine energy. It does go back to masculine and feminine energy, the masculinization of women and the emasculinization of men that started in the 60s and 70s.
Okay. I just, if I have permission to jump in, Chris, I wanted to say, great example that you go for counseling, and a lot of people think you go for counseling when things are low. You should go for counseling also when things are going well. Also, a lot of people have this mindset that, oh, I got to get help when things are on the downside. You need it all the time, because there's always these things that you don't know about, and good counseling goes deeper and deeper and uncovers things that have not been covered or left covered for many, many years. So I just want to say, great example for our audience that you do it continuously.
You know, I'm gonna
actually, I have it on my list today to call a therapist for myself, because I haven't seen a therapist in probably 5 or 6 years. And I realized I got a lot of stuff going on in my brain that my coach really can't help me with, and my mentors can't help me with. So I'm like, you know, I need to go talk to somebody and get that stuff out and set that example for myself and get that healing, get that opportunity to have a different perspective. And it's not, so many people say, oh, it's a sign of weakness, or I've tried therapy before. It's like, no, find the right therapist. They're going to ask you the right question. They're going to unlock something within yourself that perhaps will get you an opportunity to have that mirror in front of ourselves to realize, hey, what's the role that I'm playing in this problem? Am I part of the solution, or am I part of the problem? So thank you.
Sid, I know you're going to give, but I got to add on, because this is so rich that
it's always, you know, it's tricky.
we just roll. For every guy and every person loves a guy here, I strongly suggest that you have at least one person in the world that you have vault conversations with. And no doubt, about half an hour ago, someone called me, and it was the right person at the right time that I could just get some things off my chest. And I knew it was just going to be a vault conversation with. So I strongly suggest that, especially every guy that's watching this live on the replay, have that person that you have the vault conversations with. Please, if anything I say you get out of this, that's what I want you to take away.
And it should not be your spouse or significant other.
Exactly.
All right, hold on. I gotta go here though, because, and myself included, I think my son called me and he was like, Dad, he was having a moral deal with his girlfriend at the time. And so he was like, there's right and wrong. And I'm like, nah, son, there's no right and wrong. You got to stop that. There's no right and wrong. Cheating is not wrong, even though if someone's listening, they may think that we're sitting here saying cheating is wrong. And I'm saying, nah, it's not wrong. It actually is a great teacher. Like, it teaches you what you need to know. And it's only cheating because you likely haven't been able to communicate what's going on in the space. And I say that so that anyone sitting here listening is not going to walk away and think, oh, damn, I need to go shoot myself because I'm such a bad person. No, it's not like that. Like, stuff happens. And then if we go way back, like my dad came home from Alaska when I was younger, and he was like, man, they were explaining how their relationships went before the new world came into the order for them. The relationship looked like this: man and woman. Oh, we want to lay together. Okay, we lay together in the house. We aren't working. We walk out of the house and just go on with life. And instead, we have this new paperwork that actually doesn't mean a damn thing other than when the money's not right, we got to split it. When really, no, that's the problem. Because really, it's simple. Okay, how many times have people slept with other people before the person? Now all of a sudden they get with one person. Now, oh, you're only supposed to be with this person. You only been alive 25 freaking years. But for the rest of your life, 50 plus years, you're going to be with this one person because it's wrong for you to do anything else. That's not a true thing. That is such a man-made moral BS. When we've had people get married to multiple wives, we've had women that sleep with multiple men, and it actually isn't bad. And that's what hits for me. Like when I listen to this, because it's now, am I sitting here saying, no, do I want to run amok? No, because it would be me running amok, only because that's how I see it. Not because it's right or wrong, because people have been doing it since the dawn of time, and we aren't even catching the people in the file.
Yeah, that goes back to what your definition of wrong is. I think it's what you walk into. I have friends of mine that are in open polyamorous, whatever it's called, relationships, and I'm like, how does that work? And they send me videos, and they like, if that's what works for you, then that's the relationship you should probably get into. I know that people have gotten into that and thought, oh, this is going to be the panacea, man. My girl's okay with me doing this and doing that. He goes out and does this and that. He's like, man, it's so cool. She's the best thing ever. I'm like, well, what's she doing? Oh, she's not really doing anything. 6 months later, hey, Chris, I got to talk to you. Yeah, what's going on? She went out and slept with somebody. I'm like, oh, cool. Awesome. That's what you guys wanted. Well, now, no. Well, I wanted it, but I didn't want it for her. I'm like, okay. I mean, those are the things that people need to have conversations about when they get into those relationships, because in the sense of right or wrong, I mean, if you walk into a committed relationship, it's kind of established now that you're in a committed relationship. It's a monogamous relationship unless you have that conversation. So if your desire is to go out there and have different action all the time, then have that conversation with your partner. And if it's not what they want, then perhaps that's not the right partner for you. And that's the opportunity to say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to go get in the right situation because that is wrong to you, and I don't want to do that to you because I care about you. And then perhaps there's that relationship out there for me. So it does go back to that responsibility and looking at what you're getting into and not hoping it's going to be like this or that, because chances are, unless you really think it through, it might come back to bite you.
Yeah, communication is key. Because just imagine your girl says, hey, baby, how about a threesome? You're like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
Well, I got to
come home that night and there's another dude in the room, right? Because her version of a threesome was maybe different than yours, right? Communication is key.
Well,
right?
You know, I mentioned the word earlier, intimacy, and I say it's into me see.
Yeah.
You know, you got to look at yourself and saying, what will I accept? What are my boundaries? What are my limits? What am I willing to accept and not accept? And then make sure you communicate that to whoever you're involved with so they know also. Because so many times, I'm sure Christopher, because he helps a lot of women, he'll probably ask a question, well, did you ask this? Did you put this out? Did you say this? And they'll say no.
Well, I just thought, I'm like, well, how did that work out for you?
Right. Well, you didn't think long and hard enough. And again, so that communication is everything. I can tell you that I've known people in polyamorous relationships. It never works out long term. Never. Because there's that one guy that gave her the extra attention. There's that one girl that gave him the extra attention, not just the physical side of it. Because oftentimes when people cheat, it's physical, but it's really what they really wanted was that intimacy, not the physical aspect of it. It's the intimacy, that touch and diagnosis. There's a video, and I think you guys, I think I might have sent it to you at some point, but you guys probably watched it. And it's this English couple And the guy's just sitting there looking at her, and the wife's like, if she's not younger than me, if she's not prettier than me, if she's not sexier than me, then why can't it be me? And he turned to her and he says, because she's easy. She listens to me. She's not mean. She's kind.
You've opened up a whole can of worms here now with this one, because
that's what we do.
A few points. And I think sometimes, and Tony, you were saying it right, sometimes people cheat because it's an escape hatch. They're not feeling emotionally wanted or getting the communication they need. And someone else,
and they still love the person, by the way.
Yes, but there's that escape hatch. I can speak with this person about this because you won't, or I just don't feel comfortable speaking with you about it. This is funny. I was chatting with a lady the other day, divorced, has kids, and basically she says, I've decided not to be in relations because I want peace. Hello, Sid.
I mean, I got on a knee like that. Like, it was like, Liz, I have a mission. My mission is
the men
to
out
have
there are
peace in the
too
world.
complicated. She doesn't want to take on the emotional responsibility. And I know it's not direct with her. I think indirectly it comes in this conversation. And okay, Sid is foundation on peace. How do you keep your peace? What are you willing to do to keep your peace? How are you going to tolerate your peace to avoid yourself from cheating, etc.?
Now, there's a guy named, do you guys know this name, Neo, the singer?
Yep.
Okay, he has 3 women in his
Matrix.
life. No, not the Matrix.
For Neo.
The brother. He has 3 women in his life that they're all committed to him. All of them, 100%. Now, the reporter asked him, so what if they want to go sleep? He's like, that's not part of the deal. We already made the agreement that they wanted just me, and I schedule it out. It's perfectly designed so that I can spend equal amount of time, blah, blah, blah. Now, that's too much work for me. I'm trying to freaking run too many businesses and do all the things. But he's a singer. So he goes and does that thing, and then he goes and does his thing. And so it's like, I think it goes back to what Tony said, like, and what I talked about is communication. If you say it and the other person makes an agreement, it's no longer cheating.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. Like, it just is. Like, it's okay. If we had a guy when I was coaching football, his wife literally said, we don't care. You go sleep with whoever you want. I don't care how it works. He was the most faithful person every time we went out. He'd be like, girls would be hitting on him and be like, I'm going home. See y'all later. Like, we'd be like, your wife just gave you a pass and you aren't even thinking about it because it was already laid out there. And that's the one thing that shifted in my life was my wife said, I will love you no matter what. And then it was like, nah, I don't want to screw that up.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting. Here's a different perspective. And you guys made me think of a friend I haven't spoken to in a while. So boundaries and rules, and we'll call them, what do they call them at the bowling alleys when you put up the safety rails?
Bumpers.
Everybody kind of needs to have a version of that around their relationship. Just like they say that children need boundaries, there's a lot of freedom within boundaries. In relationships, it's the same way. I had a friend of mine that was doing really well in life, and he traveled a lot, and his wife never said anything. He had carte blanche, come home whenever he wants, whatever. And inevitably he was doing what you think he's probably going to wind up doing because he has full carte blanche. She's was an amazing woman, mom, all of that. And everybody says, dude, you have everything. What a blessed life you have. And you're so lucky you have a spouse that allows you to do whatever you want. Go travel, blah, blah, blah. It says nothing. So much freedom. Well, he got into a serious relationship with someone else that didn't let him do shit. And he was questioning, I don't understand. Now I want to do this. I don't want to do that. He says, yeah, because ultimately you probably would have still been married had your wife put some guardrails up, had your wife set some boundaries that you shouldn't and couldn't cross. When there's no boundaries, there's no boundaries. And if this new person that he was with, and he's happy and everything else, I'm happy for him. If this person didn't put in boundaries, probably would have gone as well. Right? So I think boundaries are an important part. You can't, like the whole thing of, I have, what did they say, the actor, I have my free pass. You got a free pass, you're screwed. Let me tell you, if my wife, the joke was when we first got married, like, oh, Tom Cruise. I'm like, man, if I find out she was doing, me and Tom Cruise would be having words, right?
I'd be filming it.
But the point is, there have to be certain amount. There's got to be guardrails, right? Because otherwise, where are we? If there's no rules, there's chaos, there's pandemonium. That's just the way.
Would there be though? Like, let's look at that. Like, if there were no rules, there's no rules to be broken. People would actually make choices differently if they had no rules to break. Like, I think the 10 Commandments is one of the worst things on the planet. Why? Thou shalt not kill. What Christian 10 Commandment worshiper is actually making sure nobody's killing? I honestly think that a baby and a child, when they meet someone, they just look at them and check out the soul. They ain't got any rules. We, with these rules, are actually falling apart.
Well, I think that the reason that we need rules is because in society, I think there is good and evil. There's people that are good. There's people that have experiences that make them sour, that make them evil, that whatever that may be. I mean, think about all the crap that's coming out with the Epstein files.
All right, hold on. Let me ask you this.
I don't want to go there.
Your kids have a curfew?
Sorry?
Did your kids have a curfew?
They did.
Mine didn't. And and I'm here to tell you, all of them walk an arrow that I never came close to.
Yeah.
I had rules galore.
But just to finish my thought. So there's people that are going to understand and be mindful and respectful. And there's other people that are just going to abuse the system. So there's going to be the good, the bad, and the evil, or the ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if there's no rules, the good are always going to be upside down because the bad and the ugly are going to dominate. So because of that, I believe there need to be some rules in place in society, in relationships with yourself. You have a rule, Sid. You don't drink alcohol. The last month, I haven't drank alcohol. I haven't had sugar. I haven't had carbs. I haven't, because I'm on a.
We have a bottle of wine over there, though. I just don't drink alcohol, but it's not a rule.
I've got bottles of wine. I got one of my kids living at home, so I got all the crap that I'm not supposed to eat in my pantry, right? But for the last month, I've said no, I'm not going to eat it, and I've committed to that. But that's a rule that I implemented. So we all have rules. We all have rules.
Nah, I'm gonna give. This was the way it was that, and we took it from Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes, Joe Novak, all the places I worked. We had one rule: do what's right by the team. And I put 23 guys in the NFL, never got in trouble. Now these other guys that came from these rule teams are in trouble like crazy, but these guys actually had the power to make a choice that was elevating their life versus. And I think we actually have, especially when the people setting the rules are not anywhere near monitoring or being close to the rules.
That's the problem. That's what we're facing all over the world right now, in not just Western civilizations, but all civilizations.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
say just about all civilizations. I don't want to paint everybody with that same brush, but
I mean, I had that. Like, there was, all right, before I was with long relationship, not going to use her name. I had like whoever came up to me at end of my class and said, do you want to go to dinner? That's who I was sleeping with that night. Like, I had gone through divorce, two divorces. I'm just doing Sid. I'm just doing Sid. And everybody in my life were cool with that, me doing it. Someone came up to me and said, oh, you can't do that with her. You're going to need to get rid of everybody. That became a nightmare relationship for me. Then again, I go back to my wife, who said, nah, as long as you love me, I will love you. Shit. It just was like something just took everything that was causing me to look at everybody and just said, no, this is the one. I'm good. And so I really, now that's just my experience. So I really do feel like the rules that we place, like when we got married, we looked at all the things like till death does us part. We said, nah, we ain't doing that one. We ain't committing to that because actually I want to be with you and live well. So we canceled that. There ain't gonna be no death to his part. Let's just live life well and live it into it. Like all the different things we looked at and said, okay,
The
how can
obey
we
part.
make it in a statement that moves us forward? And I feel like we've got so many things that actually look backwards. And so because we're looking backwards, we live that.
But let's think about that for a second. You just said that there is a rule in your relationship. As long as you love me, I'm going to love you. That is a rule, my friend.
No. She said, I don't care what you do as long as you come home and love me.
That is a rule.
That's a rule.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's even if there's soft rules, there's soft boundaries, they're just bumpers. Those are rules that we have to.
But I wouldn't say it's a rule as much as
brother. You may not say it, but she sure as hell believes it is.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I really don't think she laid it as a rule. Like, it was, hey,
She may not have laid it as a rule, but think about it. As long as you always come home to me and love me, I'll love you.
She didn't say you just put that in there. Like, when I come home, I may have said that way, but when I come, like, I could stay out in the street for a freaking week, and as long as I came home and loved Liz and treated her well, she would be.
That's a really cool loose rule, but it's nevertheless a rule.
Let's bring her on and talk to her. Let's see what's going on. Let's do something crazy here. Let's do something crazy here and see what happens. You know what I want to talk about a little bit is I want to go back to, for me, I'm always about the root. Like, okay, so what's the root cause of the person? Like when you talked about it before, it's like we're not getting a connection, we're not getting an intimacy. But let's talk about for people who are listening and watching, what's the root that we can kind of help people with in their own sense of insecurity, right? Because I think about like, what's the deeper meaning? Why do I need to go? Why do I need to have multiple people? Of course, sure, on the surface level, yeah, it's fun to do that, but then ultimately that gets old. And what is it that we're really trying to accomplish, and what can we heal within ourselves in order to find that sense of peace that maybe one person is enough, as opposed to trying to, I'm doing this, and I've been there.
What about the person that's not, like Wilt Chamberlain, right? Like Wilt had, I don't know, what was it, 10,000 women? Like seriously, it wasn't one person wasn't going to be it.
Yeah. So listen, bottom line, listen, this has a lot to do with, and I'm going to touch on Tony Robbins here, the 6 human needs, right? There's the need for significance. Look at me. I'm the biggest. I'm the coolest. I'm Wilt Chamberlain. I had over 10,000 women. Even that is a need for significance. And then the other 2 are the ones that are really, actually, the top 4 are like all that in a bag of chips. The next one is certainty or security. Knowing that you have someone you're safe, you have food and money, and you have somebody you can rely on, and someone that you can love is going to love you, certainty. And then there's uncertainty, because God has a sense of humor, right? Which is variety, which is trying different foods, having different experiences, and yes, even being with different people, right? So if whether you're certainty driven or uncertainty driven, variety driven or security driven is going to be different. Then of course there's that need for loving connection, right? So depending on where you put, how you organize those, what hierarchy those are in, you're going to have a different perspective on this very conversation. And then, of course, there's the need for growth and the need for contribution. But those are the needs of the spirit. Those come later. But like right now, we're dealing with, there's 4 of us on here now. There's four of the top ones are significance, certainty, uncertainty, love, and connection. And I guarantee you, within your audience, everybody, based on the conversation we're having, some are like, oh my God, that's absolutely on point. The other guy's like, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That guy's genius. And we're all, and they're all watching the same video, but it's based on the hierarchy of their top needs, 4 of the 6 human needs.
Yeah. Many years ago, I would ask people, what are you looking for in a relationship? Security, excitement, both, or something else?
That's good. Because oftentimes people don't know what they want. And then I said this last week, Sid, and I think it's a good place to insert this again, because it can't be overstated. Relationships are a place where you go to give. Everybody says, well, relationships are 50-50, and I call bullshit. Divorce is 50-50. If you're lucky. If you live in New Jersey, it might be worse than that. But nevertheless, relationships are 100-100, because if you each show up with 100%, you got 200%. Life is beautiful. If you're each having a bad day and you're at 50%, you show up with 20, the other person shows up with 15, you're like, what the hell? Screw you. And before you know it, you're having what's known as hallway sex, where you just tell each other off as you're passing each other in the hallway, right? So you don't want to have that. So relationships, again, are 100. Everybody shows up with 100%, because if you're both having a bad day and one shows up with 50, the other one shows up with 65, you're still over 100. So you can lift and carry the
problem,
other.
though, your math is off. And I just want to give you this as a thought. 50-50, when each person is 100, is actually a half-ass relationship, because it's only 100.
But I'm saying it's 100. No, you and I are saying the same thing. I may have missed a step, but relationships are 100. Yeah. Right? Their 50% is actually 100. So when you come together and everything's perfect, it's 200. It's blissful, mind-blowing. Holy shit. It seems like we're still on our honeymoon. But if you're each coming in with 55 and 65, now, okay, you're each showing up as a lesser version, but because you're all putting out so much, you guys are still over 100, so you're good. And then the other thing I say is that so many people just go to a relationship to take. It's a place where you go to give, because the more you give, you'll eventually get. And to make the analogy that everybody will understand is, you can't make withdrawals from places you haven't made deposits. If you've got zero sum in your bank account, you're at a negative. You go to try to take out money and say, no, fool. You ain't got no money in here. Get out of here. As a matter of fact, you owe us $150 in late fees or in overdraw fees or whatever it is. Relationships are the same way. You can't go back to that same source to get more and get unless you've made deposits. You've loved on them. You've shared them. You've listened. You've made those emotional deposits, so that at some point you may be able to withdraw. And by the way, this happens in all the relationships in our lives. That's why in business, they say, add value first. Well, what are you doing? You're making a deposit. Don't ask me for something. Hey, can I pick your brain? No, dude, we've known each other for years. I've been through some shit. You never say anything. You don't comment. You're never around. Now you need something. I want to pick your brain. Probably not. Right? Or I may say, knowing me, depending who it is, I'm like, all right, go ahead. Even though, by the way, if you're listening, stop asking people if you can pick their brain. That shit sounds painful.
You know what I tell people? I say, if you're going to pick my brain, you're going to get infected. So don't pick my brain.
Right.
I tell them they got to pick my nose first. You got to pick my nose first.
So, but again, just make sure that you're going to a relationship to add value, give the love that you want to get, and hopefully you'll be ready to give back. And if it's not,
we got a question on the.
There's some questions here. That so you can go ahead, but I see a question here that someone's watching on my platform. They're saying, is security more about consistency, trust, or both?
Both, because consistency means that you know what to expect. The opposite of consistency is inconsistency, not knowing what's coming next. So they're polar opposites. So yes, that is certainty. And then trust, of course. If I can't trust you, then I have no certainty in our relationship. So trust and certainty go hand in hand.
Well, if I don't,
but what's the definition of security? I think that's one of the things I've been diving into, is when people are using words and people in conversation, it's like digging deeper and, okay, what does security mean for you? What does that look like in a relationship?
Yeah, to different people, it may look like different things. So it all depends on the lens in which you're viewing life from, and what your traumas and your life experiences have been are actually going to dictate what that might be for you. But the raw definition of security and certainty is knowing that you have a safe space to lay your head, is knowing that you have enough resources to be able to keep the lights on, to feed yourself and your family, keep safety, that the saber-toothed tiger isn't going to get you when you step outside, that you live, that, you know what I mean? So it's food security, water security, it's location and having shelter, and of course, having someone that you can trust and be with you. That's ultimately security, means safety in whatever version.
Have a penalty box, like we're playing hockey up there in Canada.
If I have permission to add on to that, for me, I'd say a safe and brave space. Because
why brave?
Because we know a lot of times guys can feel safe. I want them to feel brave enough that they can express themselves.
But is that safe or is that comfortable? Two different things.
It's confidence for one.
Security. I feel like it's a whole inward thing. It has nothing to do with this trust or consistency. Like, if I'm secure, I don't give a damn if you're trustworthy or consistent. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm secure. Like, it's an inner thing. Like, To me, it really has nothing to do with consistency or trust. As long as I am secure in myself, you can do whatever you want. Like that's security at the end of the day. And most people lose security when they give it to somebody else and think that that person's infallible and they're going to do exactly what they need to do to keep me feeling secure. That ain't it. I'm so secure in myself. I really, it's good to go. Like that's why 100% peace looks like I could care less what everybody else does. That's really it. I'm so secure. You don't get to disrupt my peace. Like I'm really that secure about it.
So in the context of the 6 human needs, I looked it up and it says security is the human need to feel safe, stable, in control, have protection from pain, confidence in what's coming next. That's a big one. Confidence in what's coming next. It's a need to know I'm going to be okay. My income is predictable. My relationship is solid. I won't be blindsided. It's not just financial or emotional or physical or psychological. So that would be the more.
I'm expecting every human to be human. So I don't have to worry about anything they do because it's just human. It's not good or bad. So like really, even in the list of things that you're saying, it's like, nah, I'm just good. Like,
but listen, but you are, and thank God for that. And that's why we're here. That's why you have a podcast. That's why we're all sharing our knowledge and wisdom in this, so we can share with other people that aren't as confident as you are. Because it goes on, it says, security is about avoiding pain. Certain answers to the question, how do I make sure I don't suffer? And this way, people stay in bad jobs, stay in bad relationships, avoid taking risks, oversave money, overplan, overcontrol, because uncertainty feels unsafe, right? And when you feel unsafe, that's how. And by the way, one of the biggest causes of separation in relationships is financial insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. So it is epically important, regardless of whether you believe it, agree with it or not. It's almost like that whole thing of gravity. Whether you believe in gravity or not doesn't matter. You jump out the second floor window, you're still going to break your leg, right?
Well, and the financial security is probably a lot of time based on financial trauma. That's a whole other conversation.
Right.
Well,
going back to that,
here's the opposite side of this, because I looked it up. The shadow of security. Here's the dark side of security, right? Too much certainty. Because it's certainty, right? It's comfort, the comfort zone. Comfort zone, we all know, comfort zone feels great, but that's where dreams, hopes, and goals go to die, right? So if you're too comfortable, that's when you start getting fat and lazy, and you start breaking down, and your relationship comes apart because you're no longer working at keeping that thing alive. So too much, and it leads to, here's the other thing, gentlemen, it leads to cheating for both men and women because you're too comfortable. That'll never happen. So too much certainty leads to boredom. And in relationship, that's exactly what happens. It leads to boredom, complacency, playing small, and no growth, which is why the second human need exists, which is variety, right? Because we all need, listen, it doesn't matter how much you love. I mean, I love me a good ribeye. But if I have it every day, I'm going to get tired of it. And I'm going to want a freaking hamburger or a hot dog or something. I love chocolate. But, here's 2 pounds of chocolate. Have at it. I won't want chocolate for 2 months. Well, maybe not. But
too much of anything is just too much. I agree.
It's too much of a good thing is still too much. And that's when we get complacent. We get lazy. We stop. And I said this the other day, and this is something I learned from Tony Robbins, is if you did at the end of a relationship, which you did in the beginning, there'd never be an end to the relationship. So stop being lazy. Continue to date. Continue to give her the back rubs. Continue to give him the back rubs. Smack her butt. Smack his butt. Give him that, little nip on, on the neck or on the ear.
A big glimpse into Tony's house.
Yeah. Oh my. Listen. There was this was funny. It was kind of like a quote that said, it was almost like from Game of Thrones, and it was basically a clip saying, "Thou simply does not walk past thy wife at the kitchen sink and not smack thine ass."
Mm-hmm. My wife and I just did that last week.
You got to stay playful. By the way, in a relationship, if you're not laughing together, you will wind up crying apart. Write that shit down. In a relationship, if you're not laughing together, you're going to wind up crying apart. So keep dating, keep having fun. If you're not having fun, man, why are you doing it? There's ups and downs. By the way, caveat, hold on. Let me put a big ass pin on that, because the reality of it is that's what people do. I'm not having fun. I'm leaving. No. Listen, life is peaks and valleys, ups and downs. Your heartbeat,
100%.
beep, beep. Oh, I just want my life to be nice and calm. So let me put a tone to that. Beep. Flat is dead. Life is peaks and valleys. Relationships are peaks and valleys. The idea is to not lose enthusiasm while you're on the bottom or on your way down, because you know that the next high is going to come. Learn in the valleys, celebrate the peaks, and kind of enjoy the ride, because you know nothing is going to last forever. So in a relationship, if shit's going sideways, try to fix it, fight for it. Don't just make it disposable. So
sometimes you just gotta let it go too. Like it's
and
okay.
You just gotta let it go.
It's okay, and however you need to do it. And I think people need to just be okay being appropriate in the moment. Stop judging it as right or wrong, and just be okay. Like that's what peace looks like. I'm just okay with all of it. It's life's still happening. I'm just not getting knocked off the freaking surfboard. Like it really, like I'm just riding the waves I need to ride. I'm not fighting against the current. I'm paddling out when I can. If I can find the rip curl, the rip tide that takes me out, it's easy. It's a conveyor belt. I just go out. Like it's really like that. The idea of that space of good and bad, right or wrong, is going to eat you up no matter who you are.
The labels will get you on that. And I think it would probably be important for context for people who are watching and listening, for us to share some personal stories. I don't know if you guys did that last week, but when I was thinking about this conversation, I was thinking about my own personal life, of course. And when I was married to my first wife, got married at 18, divorced at 23, that tells you something. But my wife and my best friend at the time got together, actually on my birthday of all things. And it wasn't until I noticed some changes in my wife's behavior, and I just sat there and I just took a chance and I said, so when are you going to tell me? She's like, tell you what? And I said, there's something you got to tell me. And when I said it the second time, I noticed her body language changed. It's something like 22 years old, I think it was, something like that. And then I noticed she had something to tell me. And then she told me, she goes, yeah, Rick and I messed around. And of course I got pissed off and asked all sorts of questions, punched a bunch of holes in the wall, started smoking again, was going to kill him. And I was like, you know what? In that moment of rage, I sat there and had this wherewithal to think, what role do I have in this? And it was pretty poignant situation, because I was mad and I was justified. And I called him up. I called him at work and I said, Rick, I need you to come over to my apartment today at lunch. He's like, dude, I don't know what she said, but I'm not coming over there. I have stuff to do. And I said, Rick, if you don't come to my apartment, I will come to your work and I will beat the living shit out of you in front of everybody. You know, I will go to jail for it. I don't care. But I promise you, if you come to my apartment and you have a conversation with me, I won't touch you. And that's a promise. And sure enough, he came there because he knew I carried on my promise. And as I sat there and I listened with open ears, and still didn't make it right, wrong, or any different, but I was able to sit there and understand my situation in it. Like what you're talking about, we have to make an investment in those people. I was working, I was going to school, I was going to the gym, I was busier than shit. And I thought it was okay. I thought my wife understood it. And this is how it is. We got married, now this is the role we take, right? And then ultimately I sat there and had to think about it. I'm like, wow, if I was gone 18 hours a day or whatever it might be, and they were at home waiting for me on a Friday night, but I was working late because it justified my ego and I had to prove that I was worthwhile, might that situation have happened if I had given her extra attention and stuff like that? So long story short, what it taught me was to own responsibility in the relationship. And ultimately I forgave my wife, because she's like, hey, I didn't mean for it to happen. It happened, because you were gone all the time, he and I became close. And God's honest truth, they are still together today. I mean, we've been divorced for something like 35 years. She's happy as hell. He still hates my guts for whatever reason. That's a whole another story. I can tell you a story about that story, which is funny, but ultimately that situation served me so great in my future relationships, because I realized that, no, I need to be, like we were talking about again, bringing some of this stuff full circle, is that 100%. I need to make sure that I'm investing just as much time in everything else, and I'm investing into that person. And I helped a guy this one time do this. He was spending all this time on his car. And I said, just make sure you polish the chrome at home. And he was like, you know what? You're right. And every time he would see him, he goes, I'm polishing the chrome at home. And that was his way of taking care of his wife and not just taking care of everything else. So, I mean, sometimes we have to go through those situations to learn and to grow. Like you said, those peaks and those valleys. Hey, I learned something, and I was able not to repeat those situations in my next relationships.
And you said something, and you recognized that you were not putting in the time, you weren't making the deposits, kind of going back to what we were talking about before. By the way, and I have one more comment, but in the meantime, Sid, where is this posted going live? Because I looked on your page to see if I can share it. so other people can see it live, and I wasn't able to see it.
LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook.
Well, we're on Facebook. It's not on your Sid McNary page. But anyway, while you look that up, maybe you can text it to me. The other thing that I wanted to share is, there's an example, and this kind of fits perfectly with what you're saying, because, we've all heard the expression that you get so busy making a living that you forget to live your life and to make a life. Right. And that's what you were doing. You got complacent. You got comfortable. You got into that comfort zone, and your wife wasn't comfortable there. She's like, well, I need attention. I need, where the hell is everyone else? So one of the things that I often talk about, and I think I've spoken about this on stage as well, is there's a couple of things. Number one is we've only got so many yeses to give throughout the day. And the more yeses we give to things and people that don't matter because we want to help everyone, the more no's we have to give to the people and things that really do. You say yes to everything, then you come home and you can't go to your son's game. You can't take your wife to dinner. You can't this, you can't that. So we wind up going through our day giving yeses to things that don't matter and really giving the no's to things that do. And what we're doing during the day, we say is to take care of our families, to be able to be there more with them, and yet we're not. And then we don't pay our wives attention. She goes and meets up with, what was it, Rob or whoever, with Rick. The explanation that was just given by Rick, right? And because why? We're busy giving everyone in the world the best of us, and we go home and give our families, the people that really matter, the rest of us. And we got to make it a point. Save some of the good save some of that best of us for the people that really matter most.
Dr. Vibe, what were you about to drop?
I know we're coming to the top of the hour, so I would just say that people who are cheaters, they have to realize that the other person may leave you. It may take time to heal. Right? You are sitting in the chair because you have no control anymore. So again, they might leave. They may take a long time to heal, or they may never see you that same way again. That's part of what you chose when you did that, when you've done that. So you have to be ready for whatever consequences are going to come out of that person.
Mm-hmm. And then I have to be careful in my future relationships not to read into signs that, is that happening? Is that happening? And that has happened plenty of times. That's happened in my current relationship. My wife's in Vegas right now, and there's sometimes like, well, have I polished the chrome enough? Okay, I think we're doing a good job. Yeah, okay. But there's that doubt in there that creeps in every once in a while, like, okay, making sure that I'm doing my thing, right? And I think that's the one thing out of the conversation people should get is, check your shoe shine and make sure that you're doing that. Because so oftentimes we have this expectation from everybody else. We have to sit there and look, like, on paper, what have I done to make that person feel special? Like, I think you did a great job, Tony, talking about it before. Like, my wife and I have date night every month. Sometimes we call it redneck date night. We go out shooting our guns, and then we go out to some country western restaurant, Roadhouse. And so we call it our redneck date night. But we make it a point for those things. We make it a point to make each other feel special. Like, have I done something this month to make her feel special? Have I written some sticky notes? Yeah. And so for people listening and like, invest in those relationships and invest healthily, and it'll pay back in amazing sums, because people just want it. Like you said before, we want to be seen, feel, heard. We want to have that sense of connection. And sometimes we need to build that connection ourselves and not just expect it to come from other people in a one-way street.
Yeah. Yeah, a good relationship should be an investment, not an expense.
Right.
It should be if it's an expense, it's going the wrong way. And get that help, whether it's between each other, and sometimes, like Christopher said earlier on, get that third party, get that outsider who sees it from a different lens, right? Because
Tony, what you got? Excuse me.
Go ahead, Tony.
Sorry. Listen, I agree with everything that it's been a great conversation. And again, I'm going to lean into two things, and I'll leave it with the thought. And I'm just going to repeat basically what I said. Comfort zone is bad. Make sure you're not getting too comfortable, and make sure that you're not giving all your yeses away. Save some yeses for the things and people that really matter. Start to say no more often. You can always go back and say yes later on. Stop trying to be that people pleaser that's making everybody happy. Save some of that best of you for the people that really matter in your life.
Well, I want to say thank you to all of you. This has been an incredible conversation. Love to have all of you back next week. And we're going to flip it from the cheater conversation to something a little different. But Yeah, just grateful for all of you, and I'll see you in the green room here in a second. And as I close it up, for me, my closing thoughts are, when it comes to this space of cheater, really you're cheating yourself. At the end of the day, when I look back at the relationships, and I've been on every side of everything in the name of relationships, but when I look back at it, the things that went off, I was cheating myself. It was hurting me more so than it actually probably even hurt the other person, even though I know some of them got hurt in the process. But then I was the one living with it and needing to correct it later on. So I cheated myself in the moments, and I'm not talking about cheating, going to sleep. I'm talking about cheating my life, period. When it could have been, even if it were ending, it could have ended sooner. Or if it were going, it could have gone stronger. All the different things that I took away from myself by just missing communicating on that level. So whatever you're doing, look after yourself, take care of yourself. And in the process of taking care of you, you'll start to take care of others too. Thanks. Peace.
I've been at peace for so long. It seems like I've been sitting all alone. Would you know when the crew is coming through? They're the ones that will make anew. Gotta go, gotta flow, gotta choose the truth. We the ones that will raise the roof. Let's roll up and throw down. Let's go and feel the sound. Good vibes, one try. Can you feel me now? Be you, be me, be free. Go and take it till we bounce the beat. Take it to the streets, make 'em move the feet. I can slow it down, look in my eyes now. Just like you two want it fast. Spread them wings and make it last. God was the one to erase the past. Time to bring it forward and see the forecast. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. That was God's broadcast. That was God's broadcast. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace